The stars of Charmed. In 2025, where are they now? People all over the world fell in love with three witches for 8 years, but their real lives were much worse after the show stopped. One died at age 53, just one day before her divorce was finalized. Another person ran away to Mexico after revealing Hollywood's biggest abuser. A third went from delivering pies in a truck to making movies that no one saw coming. From big city shows to small towns in Mexico, from political fights to tragic family events. It really did happen like this. I'm Alyssa Milano. She started her work when she was young, and by the time she played Phoebe Halliwell on Charmed, she was already well known, but everyone was shocked by what happened after that famous part. Alyssa sang Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway for the first time in 2024 when she was already over 50 years old. It wasn't just a PR stunt or a one-time thing. Critics didn't think she could make the jump from TV to live theatre, so she went through the interview process like everyone else. Some of the reviews were rough. People liked her personality and energy, but they said her music wasn't great. Alyssa didn't give up, though. She worked hard at training and worked closely with the choreographers to make sure that the dances played to her skills. In interviews, she said that the part was a feminist return to desire. Roxy is someone who never stopped chasing her moonbeams was her favorite line. It also fit. They were both always after Alyssa. That Broadway launch wasn't just the start of something new. It was the peak of a 40-year career that started with Who's the Boss? In the 1980s, Alyssa didn't give up after a certain age, which is what many actors do. She didn't stop moving. When it comes out in late 2025, her memoir will give you a look inside that trip. She also got a first look deal with A&E Studios, which shows that she's still making things and changing. In the world outside of Alyssa has become one of the most vocal and dependable activists. She has been at the center of the NAMI 2 movement since 2017. She hasn't just tweeted, she's also marched, spoken out, and faced strong people. People both liked and didn't like the fact that she signed an open letter in 2023 asking for a ceasefire in Gaza. The next year, she became an advocate for United 24 and helped get more people to support Ukraine. Activists, lawmakers, and brave people from all political views can be heard on her podcast. Sorry Not Sorry. She's also been a mum through it all. Milo and Bella, her 2 kids, are the most important thing in her life. She has been very open about feeling guilty about being there for her kids and working on Broadway at the same time. During the run in Chicago, she talked about leaving practice late at night only to have to get up early to drop off her kids at school. She didn't hide how bad things were. She took it in. Being honest with herself made her even more likable, especially to mums who are trying to do everything. It's Holly Marie Combs. Piper on Charmed was played by Holly Marie Combs. She also went in a very different but equally strong direction. After leaving the show in 2006, she came back in 2010 on Pretty Little Liars. Lucy Hale's character's mother, Ella Montgomery, is played by her. She was funny because Lucy was only 5 years older than her. She didn't try to hide it. Instead, she made fun of it. She once laughed and said, "I'd rather they say I look too young than say I got old." It was important to play Ella. It let her go from being a magical guardian to a normal mum in the modern world, and saw the same trends behind the scenes that she had seen on Charm. She said that seeing the younger actors become famous made her remember her own childhood, but she also said that they were probably more mature than she was, become a producer for the last few seasons of Charmed as well. That event changed how she did her job afterwards. She started the podcast The House of Halliwell with her co-stars Brian Krause and Drew Fuller in 2024. Not only did it take people back to their childhood, but it was also a big hit, especially among younger fans who found the show on streaming services. Shannon Doherty even joined in on the first few shows, was raw, funny, and honest. She told stories about fights, bonds, and the stress they all felt. In a whole new way, the podcast brought Charmed back to life. That wasn't all she did. In 2025, Holly went to fan events all over the world. She met up with old co-stars at Boston's 90s Con, Comic-Con France, and Monsterpalooza in Los Angeles. She also answered questions that fans had been asking for years. She didn't hold back. She talked about what really happened on the set of Charmed, including the drama that happened when Shannon Doherty quit. Holly did not behave well. People respected her even more because she told the truth. Her personal life has been interesting. Being born to parents who were teens, she moved around a lot as a child. Maybe that helped her get used to living in Hollywood. She was married 3 times. The first time was to actor Brian Travis Smith. The second time was to Charmed crew member David Donahoe, with whom she has 3 boys. I met my husband, the restaurant owner Mike Ryan, when we were both raising our children by ourselves. They took their time before getting married in 2019 in Carmel, California. Says they dated for a long time because they wanted to make sure their families would get along. Holly stopped acting after her divorce from Donahoe so she could spend more time with her children. It wasn't until she thought it wouldn't hurt her boys that she went back. In Hollywood, that's not a very common choice. Fans looked up to her even more because they saw in her a mother who gave up things like they do. The thing that makes Holly stand out is how honest she is. She never claimed everything was fine. She told the truth when things were a mess. She spoke out against Hollywood's love of young people. Some people didn't like that she revealed the tension behind the scenes on Charmed, but others thought it was cool. She did a lot more than just act. She spoke up for what was right. In a field where nobody talks, dostery. When Shannon Doherty stopped being on Charmed, her life was no longer peaceful. Many people thought her career was over when she quit the show in 2001, after her character Prue was killed off. Her fight with co-star Alyssa Milano on Charmed was big news in the tabloids. People knew more about the drama behind the scenes than they did about the shows themselves. She didn't go away like everyone thought she would. Shannon didn't stop working. In 2003, she was the host of Scare Tactics. She played the lead role in Category 7, The End of the World in 2005. In the 2008 reboot of 90,210, she came back to the screen as Brenda Walsh. Fans were thrilled, a small nod to her first movie, Mallrats. She even showed up in Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. She did TV movies, guest parts, and anything else that paid the bills. Even though it wasn't a list work, it kept her in the public eye. Her friends stuck with her, and it was hard to avoid her. The hardest part then came. She was told she had breast cancer in 2015. It wasn't a secret. After chemo and radiation, she had a mastectomy. She said it was gone in 2017, but it came back 2 years later. It was even worse this time. It was stage 4. She told everyone in 2023 that the cancer had spread to her brain. She even gave the growth a name, Bob, and had surgery to get rid of it. Shannon stayed open through it all. She talked about the fight, the pain, and the fear. She spoke out for other people with cancer and wouldn't be seen as someone who was ready to die. She said that even people with cancer that will kill them have a lot of time left. She showed it. Her private life was also very hard. It was in 2011 that she married photographer Kurt Zwernko. Things were going badly in their marriage by the end. I got a divorce just 1 day before she died. She was 53 years old. A lot was found in the court papers. She was having a hard time paying her hospital bills. She asked for help for her husband. She said Kurt put off the split to avoid helping. Things got bad. Sharon didn't let it stop her, though. On her show Let's Be Clear with Shannon Doherty, she talked about it. She talked about her job, her illness, and her plans for the future. She said each day was a gift and she wasn't done yet. I still want to live. I love you more than ever. I'm still making things. It was very sad when she died on July 13, 2024. People who knew her, liked her, and worked with her will always remember her for who she was, not just the parts she played. Strong, broken, honest, and brave. Doherty was more than just a 90s star. She could fight. She didn't go away. Up until the very end, she spoke, worked, and lived. Hi, Rose McGowan. Rose McGowan didn't just quit a TV show when she left Charmed in 2006. She left a whole world behind. For 5 years, she played Paige Matthews and became well-known. But her life took a turn no one saw coming when she stopped being famous. She didn't go away. That one move helped start the Knock Me Too movement around the world, but Hollywood didn't jump for joy. It kept her out instead. Rose wasn't shocked. She had a crazy childhood. She had grown up in the Children of God group and knew what it was like to be controlled and scared. Brett Cantor, her boyfriend, had been killed in a crime that has not been solved when she was 19. She had an eating problem that made her weigh 92 pounds. She had always been able to speak up. I had to stay alive. In 2018, she wrote a memoir called Brave that was full of painful facts. It talked about the abuse, the sadness, and the fight. After that, she made a documentary series called Citizen Rose, but she felt more alone the more she talked. Rose had had enough by 2020. Her new home is in Mexico after she left Hollywood. She told him, "I just got yelled at. It was enough for me to listen." She felt calm when there was nothing around her. She didn't go to a fancy country house. She moved to an out-of-the-way place close to Tulum. She and her dog were alone sometimes. There was no flash or sounds, just silence. In Mexico, she got more than just rest. It made her happy. She talked about the joy, what it means to her and how it became a part of her life. The colors, the people, and the way of life. It started over from scratch. She cut back on her spending, learned Spanish, and enjoyed the little things that made her happy. Her relationships in the past had been very passionate. She went out with director Robert Rodriguez, got engaged to Marilyn Manson, and then married artist Davey Detail. In 2016, they got a divorce. In 2019, she got into trouble with the law for drug charges. She paid a fine and her sentence was put on hold. Still, she didn't fall down. She changed. For 35 years, her dad had lived in Mexico. She went there because of that link. She moved there permanently. She was sure by 2025 she didn't have any plans to come back to the US. Being unknown gave her freedom. No longer did she want to be famous. She wished for peace. After Charmed, she never had a normal job again. She was in the movies Grindhouse and Nip Tuck. But after 2017, everything changed. Still, it wasn't his family name that shaped his journey, it was the roles he played. Most people thought he would disappear from view after leaving Charmed in 2003. Instead, he became the main character in Nip Tuck, a risky and controversial show that ran from 2003 to 2010. It was him who played Dr. Christian Troy, a cool and complicated plastic surgeon with a bad side. He was nominated for a Golden Globe for the part, which made him known for playing crazy or morally ambiguous people. Like his role as Cole, he seemed to be drawn to parts that weren't easy to love, and that wasn't the end of it. Lent even more towards the dark side when he played the bad guy Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movies. After that, Julian did something strange again in 2020. He became most wanted by the FBI and joined CBS as Jess LaCroix, a strong, steady team leader with a strong sense of right and wrong. It was different. It wasn't as flashy and felt more real. People liked him and reviewers gave the show good reviews. But he quit in the middle of the third season in 2022. No one got into a fight with the directors or anything going on behind the scenes. Just a change, more time with his family, and a new path. The show said a dramatic goodbye to his character and gave the lead part to Dylan McDermott. We are now in 2025, and Julian McMahon is still making progress and shocking people. With his new project, The Surfer, he goes back to his home country. He plays Scully, and the movie was shot in Western Australia. A violent boss of a surf gang who plays opposite Nicolas Cage. It's a rough and tough movie with powerful performances that made waves at SXSW 2025. Because he played Americans for so long, Julian had to work on getting his Australian accent back. He said it wasn't simple but felt right. His personal life has had its ups and downs too. He's been married 3 times, at first to musician Danny Minogue in the mid-1990s, then to actress Brooke Burns from Baywatch, who has a kid with him. It's been 4 years since they got married. Back then, his short marriage to Minogue made the news, especially because of rumors that he was having problems with his mother, Sonia, Lady McMahon. He's lived in Los Angeles for decades, but he has strong ties to Australia and spends some time in each city. Julian has stopped acting and is now working on issues that are important to him. One of them is taking care of the ocean. He works for a number of NGOs and speaks out in public about the need to protect sea life. For someone who grew up in Australia and now stars in a surf movie, that link to the ocean makes sense. He has also not been afraid to talk about the problems he's had. He talked about how hard it was to leave big parts like FBI Most Wanted and Charmed. He has even made fun of the fact that his mother used to be very critical of his acts. Did everything, bad marriages and tough job changes. Even though leaving big shows was hard on him emotionally, he's kept going. John Dorian Gregory. Fans of the show Charmed used to know Dorian Gregory as Detective Daryl Morris. He didn't just disappear when the show stopped in 2005. His character was killed off after season 7 because the show had to cut costs. But that didn't stop him. He didn't wait for the next big part. Instead, he quietly but purposefully changed his path. He did something strange in 2024. Gregory not only played a part in, but also directed the thriller Fatal Fixer-Upper. He played Roger, a dad who was caught in a web of danger in the suburbs. Not many people liked the movie. Some said it was too predictable, but Gregory's work as both an actor and an associate director showed he wasn't just looking for a part. He was interested in making up the stories himself. That happened more than once. He played Dr. Nolan in 2023, a police counselor in the Lifetime show As Luck Would Have It. Even though Gregory was not on the show himself, he was once again working behind the scenes as a director. It was a good idea. He was no longer just taking the stage, was in charge of the ship. His work isn't just for TV though. Greg has had type 1 diabetes since he was 9 years old. He doesn't try to hide it. He instead talks about it in public, like at events and in schools. In talks and interviews, he tells people to change their habits. Set alarms to help you remember. Remember that life is medicine. His words hit home because they are based on real life. His grandma died of type 2 diabetes. It also has his aunt living with it. In his eyes, lobbying is like family. And he's not just a supporter for people with diabetes. Mums Against Drunk Driving and AIDS Project Los Angeles are two groups he has helped with. Through the LAPD's Jeopardy program, he's talked to kids who are in danger. He goes to places where he can help. He has even more skills than that. Gregory Bay and his sister Mercedes Bay formed a band called MD Says. Their business has done well, not only in the US but also surprisingly in Europe. He writes poetry and plays too. Some of his works are Ashley Moore, Deep Deep Purple, and Roommates for Life, a play. These projects don't always make the news, but they show that the person is always coming up with new ideas. Fans haven't forgotten about him. Even though he's not always in the news, he still shows up at fan events and TV panels. He went to the Beverly Hills Film Festival in 2025 to talk about how powerful TV from the 1990s was. He used the word charmed in a friendly way. I loved how it showed sisters getting to know each other and becoming sisters. He is now 54 years old. He is divorced from Beth Bruce and has a grown son. He stays in shape and keeps his 6'2" body. He often talks about health at public events. It's amazing how full of energy someone can be who has had a long-term illness since childhood. Plus, there's a fact about him that even his biggest fans don't know. From 2003 to 2006, he was one of the last hosts on Soul Train. Before him was Shamar Moore. He took over and helped end a famous show that had influenced many music fans over many years. Fans loved Drew Fuller when he played Chris Halliwell on Charmed. Chris is Piper and Leo's time-traveling son. He didn't do what most stars do after the show was over, though. He didn't try to get every acting job. Instead, he made some surprising decisions. In 2007, he got a new job on Army Wives as Trevor LeBlanc, which was a great start. People really liked him in that part, and he quickly became one of Lifetime's most recognizable faces. At about the same time, he was in The Ultimate Gift with James Garner and Abigail Breslin. This movie proved he could do a lot more than just dream TV. But then he did something strange. He stopped taking on big parts and turned his attention to directing and making independent movies. It was a risk that Fuller took, but most artists would never do something like that. A short film he made in 2017 was called The Feminist. In 2018, he put out a documentary about riding with a strange name, Magnetic Plasma to Help Massa Become More Enlightened. It was weird clever and had a point. People liked it at indie festivals, and it showed that Fuller cared more about purpose than making money. A full-length play called Patricia Sterling was his work by 2025. People were talking a lot about The Small Picture, mostly because it had a new story and was made in an eco-friendly way. Even though Fuller's movie career went in a strange direction, his bond with Charmed fans only got stronger. He started The House of Hallowell, a show for re-watching Charmed with Holly Marie Combs and Brian Krause in 2022. The plan was easy. Go back to the show, share stories from behind the scenes, and get back in touch with fans. But then Fuller told a secret. For some reason, he had never seen all of Charmed until they started the podcast. Fans were shocked, but they loved hearing how he really felt when he found out about new plots and turns. The show was a big hit, but all of a sudden it stopped in 2024. Fans started to guess online because there wasn't a clear reason given. At that year's Steel City Con, Fuller said that big news was on the way. He made it sound like something new was on the way, and it might have something to do with the original group. People who liked Charmed kept talking about that one message, and it gave them hope. Behind the scenes, Fuller's life was pretty quiet. He talked here and there about his early days as a model, working with Tommy Hilfiger, Prada, and even Britney Spears in a Pepsi ad. He has always loved Paris because he lived there as a teenager. It was 2025 when he went back to the city for Paris Comic Con. He told his friends that France was his home away from home. He's honest about the tough parts of the business at these fan events and why it's important to stay true to your artistic goal.